Hi there. Welcome to this week's episode of the podcast with me, Russell Davis. Often there's things we want to create in our lives, but they feel like an impossible dream. In this episode, we're exploring what it is that stops us making those things a reality. How sometimes we get in our own way without realizing it. So let's explore how we can get out of our own way and create more of what we want in our life with more ease and well-being. One of my favourite books is The Magician's Way by William Whitecloud. And in the book, it's written as an allegory, so it's a story, so it's very easy to read, but within that story, he talks about 7 secrets of magic. The 7 secrets to creating more of what we want in our lives. And the second secret is your focus creates your reality. Your focus creates your reality. Your experience in life is determined by what you put your attention on. If you focus on end results, you inevitably attract more of what you want. If you focus too much on what you have to do to get what you want, you end up attracting your doubts, fears, and beliefs. And in the story, he uses a golf lesson as an example of this, where there's a teacher, a golf teacher, coach, helping someone see this lesson in their life through the metaphor, I guess, through the game of golf. And it gets this golfer to aim at a target. Just focus on the target, aim at the target, then hit the ball and get as close as the target, see if they can hit the target. And they did that, hit a number of shots. But the coach asked them, in those taking those shots, just replay them in your mind. Were you focusing on the target or on your form, your grip, your stance, and what you needed to do to hit that target, to get a good shot, to hit that target? And they realized actually their focus on the target, but actually as they went to play the shot, their focus moved to their body, to their form, to what they needed to do to hit the ball, to hit the target. And it's helping them to see how actually when you take your mind off the target, you actually play a worse shot. If you keep your mind on the target, forget about your form, what you're doing with your body, just keep your mind on the target the whole time and not think about the shot itself. It's amazing how much his shots are far more accurate. He played a better game. And I think there's an example where in life, we get so focused on how we can achieve what we want to achieve, whether we're good enough, all the fears and doubts begin to creep in. Rather than holding that goal in our mind. And I'll give you an example. An example of how we can hold that goal in mind without getting caught up in the how. Because I think there's 2 things to this. One is our state of being. For me, there might be a goal, something you want to achieve, but often there's a psychological goal behind the goal. It might create a sense of being. And I think it's about coming from that place rather than it's a place to get to. Now, for example, I'm not a big fan of the law of attraction, but I heard someone talk about the law of attraction. And what I liked about what they're saying was they're saying, whatever it is you want to attract into your life, maybe it is the promotion. Imagine living from that space. Imagine having the promotion, how it would feel in your nervous system. Feel it. Let your body feel that experience. And he was saying, live from that place. Each day, live as if you've got the promotion in your body, how it feels, what you believe about yourself. And I think there's truth in that. That it's a place to come from psychologically, not a place to get to. It's a place to come from, not a place to get to. It's our state of being that creates the outcome, not the outcome that creates a state of being. It's our state of being that creates the outcome, not the outcome that creates our state of being. And I've practiced that. There's a goal, something I want to create in my life. I imagine it, having created it. I choose to create this, and I feel my nervous system, how it feels to be in that space. And I realize what it is. I believe about myself more fully in that space. I notice those limiting beliefs that stop me feeling that. I forgive myself for those judgments that hold me back from feeling that. I let my nervous system know this is the place to come from today. This is the place I choose to come from. And it's making choices from that place. It's a choice. I choose to create this. I choose to create this. And you don't need to know how you're going to do it. You don't need to know how you do it. I always thought that it's down to me. I had to come up with the answers in life. I have to solve all my problems. It's like self-reliance thinking. And in my experience, that self-reliance thinking disconnects us from our intuition, our wisdom, our inspiration. I also believe it disconnects us from an energy of life that's loving and kind and got our back and inspires us. It's our source of inspiration. It's our source of well-being. That we're part of something bigger. But it's our self-reliant thinking, it's down to me, that disconnects us from that. And I can see where it's come from me growing up. I didn't feel I could trust my mum's kind of psychological state of mind. That I was going to be okay, she was going to be in good mood. And so often I didn't feel I was fully loved for who I was. I had to create the right circumstances. I didn't trust that I was going to be okay whatever happens. My okayness was dependent on her state of mind, which was very unpredictable. So I felt I had to create the right conditions to feel safe and loved. Down to me. Rather than feeling in this environment that whatever happens, I'm safe, I'm loved. I'm loved for who I am. I'm loved for who I am. So it felt like the world was a place I had to work out the rules and do the right things to feel safe and loved, rather than relaxing in a place that is safe. Imagine a child being in a perfect home. Not a perfect home exists, but just playing, not caring the world, because they just feel safe. Unconsciously, they just feel safe and loved. And they can just be. They can relax and just be. Trust that life has got their back, their parents have got their back, and it's going to be okay. Rather than constantly worrying and thinking about what they need to do to be safe. And it's that noise, that busy mind of self-reliance that tunes out, that drowns out inspiration and clarity. And when I hold these goals in mind and just realize it's a place to come from psychologically, and then trust inspiration. Trust, actually, I don't have to come up with the answers. The answer will come to me step by step, the next step, the next step. The answers will come to me. And not just in that aspect of life, trusting my inspiration in life as a whole, just trusting my intuition. It's like a practice. It's like a voice we often feel disconnected to. We're not used to listening to it or trusting it. Because the busy mind, the fear and insecurity and self-reliance tells us it's not safe to. It's not safe to. But the more we align to that inspiration and clarity and the little things in life, it guides us in the bigger things. It comes to us. The solutions come to us. And we take inspired action. That place of being, a place to come from, and trusting our inspiration and clarity in that state leads us to inspired action. Sometimes it feels scary and edgy because it means coming out of our comfort zone, taking courageous action, but it still feels inspired. And it's trusting that and making those choices to honour those moments of inspiration. In the tube, the London Underground, on the platform, sprayed on the platform edge, it says mind the gap, because sometimes there's a gap between the platform edge and the actual train. You step over the gap onto the train. It's sometimes the announcement says "mind the gap." It's quite a catchphrase, or it's a well-known phrase in the tube in London. A friend of mine has a "mind the gap" T-shirt to remind him of the gap between the inspired action, the idea, and the actually taking the action. Sometimes the gap allows more thinking and overthinking, insecurity and doubt, and we just don't trust that inspiration. It's a way of helping him just honour that moment of inspiration and clarity and take the action. Be courageous to seize it, seize the day. So our focus creates our reality. The more we focus on what we want, not how we're going to get there, what we want, and the state of being that evokes, and it's a state of being to come from. Focus on creating that state of being, and focus on being in that state of being. And that belief will get there. And we don't need to know how. There's energy of life that's got our back. It's not necessarily down to us. I guess it is a lesson in letting go and submitting and trusting. And that can feel scary for the part of us that likes to have that self-reliance. It can feel scary. But try it as an experiment. I encourage you as an experiment to do that each day. Spend a few minutes, just I do it as when I wake up in the morning. What is I want to create? I have a couple of goals. I just work this through. Imagine being there. How does it feel? Enjoy it. What is it I believe about myself in that state? I am happy, I'm free, I'm safe. And I live more for that space in the day and trust my inspired action, and things become a bit easier. I see progress that just surprises me because we're more capable than we think we are. And there is an energy of life that's got your back. I know when we go through tough times, it's really hard to believe that. When I go through high infertility, I felt abandoned by God, the energy of life. But I can look back and know it's my psychological states that created that sense of abandonment. I wasn't tuned in, I wasn't aligned, I was so much in self-reliance, in victim mode, and all these stories. This busy mind that drowned out any connection to something bigger that's loving and kind. The energy of life has got your back. Remember, it's a place to come from, not a place to get to. You don't need to worry about how. It's not down to you. Imagine how it feels to create those things you want to create. When you do that, you're touching the truth of who you are. That's actually the truth of who you are. Look at little kids, they just live in their states more and more. Most of their day, they're living in this place of abundance and success and happiness. That's who they are, it's who we are, that's our truth. That's our true sense of self that we came into the world with, that often gets drowned out, lost and buried through self-reliance. It's now coming back to that true state of who you are, and that's a place to come from. And you create what you want from that space more and more. Loving you.